Hello, mini makers. Today we're gonna be making a stone table to kind of fit our aquatic scene. So we're probably gonna add some kelp, some coral. These are so the first thing I'll do is turn on clean cast keys. You can see what I'm doing. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we can go ahead and set the 50 long by 3 by 25. Okay. This is going to be our tabletop. Maybe 4. And then we're going to go ahead and bevel the edges. Something like that. Oh, it's too much of a bevel, so bevel it slightly less. That. Okay, so kind of give it that edge there. So then we're just gonna add another cube here. And then we're going to scale it in the Y dimension. Then let me just bring in something to serve as kind of some type of reference point for how tall I should make this. Okay, that's probably fine. Then we're just gonna scale this down here. Then in edit mode, just grab all these top faces, top edges. We're gonna take this and we're gonna mirror it across the table. Something like that. Probably gonna make it a little bit thicker like that, and maybe just a little bit shorter. Okay, so we're also gonna bevel these edges of the table leg. So if you hit C, something like that. Then I'm gonna scale them a little bit more. Okay, so this is gonna be our table. Okay, and then we're just gonna go ahead and add these chairs. I like how these look. These kind of can like fit in some type of very kind of look kind of weird, kind of ancient. So we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna add a cylinder. And we're just gonna move it over in the Y. So G and then Y to move it in the Y. These are a little too short, so we're gonna make them a little taller, like this. Excuse me. In there. Okay, and we're just gonna have 4 of these. So we're gonna mirror it across the middle. I'm gonna leave these vertices down here. So I use Control R to add an edge loop. And then we can go ahead and take these, glue them up, and then hit E to exclude them, and then Alt S, something like that. And we can add an edge loop there. Be sure to mirror across the Z like that. I'm gonna take this middle edge loop, make it a little bit bigger, like that. I'm gonna subdivide the surfaces. And what we're going to do is we're going to add another edge loop by doing Control R and sliding it up to make that crisp edge. And then we're just going to scale this a little bit. So you can do Alt click this edge loop, scale it slightly. Then we're just going to move this whole thing, make it bigger. And then we're just going to move this up slightly. Move this down slightly. And then scale this more. And do like that. I'm just going to take edge loop here, edge loop here, here, and then we're going to scale them like that and everything but the Z dimension. Okay, so now we got the chairs. For the seats, that's these. Then we're just gonna mirror these again across the table in the X and the Y. Now we have 4 of these. A little bigger. And make them a little bit smaller. Yeah, maybe make them a little bit smaller. There. Okay. So those are our seats. Now mess with this a little bit more. Okay, so we have something like that. Okay, so those are our seats. Those are our table base. So now what we're gonna do is we're going to give it a blocky texture. So to do that, we're gonna go into convert all these to mesh. Gonna union these together. And then we are going to go into sculpt mode. From scale. Now that we're in sculpt mode, we're going to add some detail resolution. We're going to add some vertices using dynamic topology. And then we're going to go and use a alpha brush. So to do that, we can go into the brush section, hit new, and then I'm going to go select a alpha brush that I've made. There's a lot of good videos on how to make alpha brushes. You can just type in Blender alpha brush or Blender alpha texture and they'll show you how to do it. So for now, I am going to select my stone stamp. The stones, not stones. Well, let's see how this looks. Okay, so this is stones. So if we give it a little bit more texture here, maybe make it 10. Okay, let's just give this a lot more vertices, doing it in a lot more detail. And now we'll see how these stones look. Okay, so they kind of look cobblestone-y. We'll try that out, see how that works. That's too little. So we just mess with the strength. We can just kind of use the brush tool anchored. And just go ahead and anchor these. Make sure you have fun faces only and accumulate on. Just putting down these stone textures. Now it kind of looks like it's been underwater for a while. Not as smooth. We wanted to give that kind of barnacle-y, blindy look. Something like that. Okay. That's better. And then we may do the same with the table, but we'll see if they have another blush that works as well. So for this, we're also gonna apply scale. And then we're gonna use some dynamic topology to add some vertices. So 10 was probably way too many. So we'll go down to 3.5. And I have my vertice count down here. So like I think I said, my computer can hold about 1,000,000 vertices. It can like sculpt on 1,000,000 vertices. Okay. And then it can have like 12 to 13 million vertices in an entire scene before it starts flicking out. So right now I'm at 1,000,000 here, which is no big issue. I can move around pretty easily. I don't have a great computer, but there's nothing special about my computer, I should say. So now we'll just try out a different brush here. So I was using this stone one that kind of looks like this. So this is how your blushes will look like, kind of like a black and white image of stone or glass or bark or other things. I think I have some other type of granite maybe. This is a lot more subtle. The texture is a lot more subtle if you see that. Move it at 5. Like that. Oh, and you want to make sure that it's vector displace. And okay. The way to make it so that it's not so it doesn't deform, I think, too much. That's fine. I'll just do it slightly. Anyway, we'll go back to anchored. Maybe make it weaker. Very subtle. A lot more subtle with texturing than happened to the seat. We do the bottom as well. So this object is big enough so that when printed out, these really subtle texturing will show up. But if you have an item that's pretty small, you want to make your texturing very exaggerated. Okay. So these are our seats and our table. So far, and give them a more. No, that's fine. So we're just gonna make some coral. We could even like put it on some sort of we could put it on some sort of little platform here. Kind of give it its own little base. Then we just clean this up here. And then we can move this down slightly and set it, and then set our surfaces, and then we could just give that a texture. Now it looks like it's in sand. And then we can go ahead and go into sculpt mode with the clay slips tool on. Make sure it's front faces only. Lower this length a little bit. And then we can go ahead and just add some texture here. Kind of make it look like dirt, sand. I'm not keeping this, but I'm just showing you how you could do with it. You know, like this. Then you can go and add a texture tool, a texture brush to give it an even more sandy look. But just leave that there for now. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add some coral, which make coral pretty easily. We can make it pretty quickly just by going ahead and adding a cube and merging all the vertices at the center. So you have one vertex. Then you can go to skin modifier, subdivide surfaces modifier. You want to go into vertex mode, select all the vertexes, and hit Control A, make it bigger. Add some subdivisions, and then you hit E to exclude. And then you make these little barnacle-y like things where the middle out, Then you can kind of just one of these. And just move them around. Like this. Then you go Control A to make it a little bit thinner. Make them smaller. Them on the sides. Gonna look up some. So it looks actually more like it's one long one in the middle here. Goes fairly straight or in a dimension. These are all thicker. And then we mark this one as salute at the bottom. And then we can make this slightly smaller by just using proportional editing and Control A that adjusts the size. And then we can just take these two, subdivide between them, add a little one here. Like that. And then you just kind of keep blinging out your barnacles. Or I think these are coral. Keep blinging out your coral. And that. And then you use Control A to make them shorter. That. And then you just keep making your coral vertices. And then you just make a bunch of these in different, slightly different ways. And select them, Control A to make them smaller. So you just mess with the size a little bit to avoid these weird little artifacts that happen. And then just move them around some too. Then you have a piece of coral. I'm gonna duplicate this a couple times. And make it small. Make it smaller. Put it on the inside or the outside. That. Something like that. The same for this. Something like that. Take these two, duplicate them. Put them on top maybe. Okay, like that. Now we're gonna make some kelp. Lay the kelp across the seat. Give this a sand color. Give these a pinkish color. That. And then we're just gonna make some kelp, which you can add a cube. Scale a little bit and scale it in the Y or this Z dimension. Then we can add an edge loop across the top. Pull that up. Or we can exclude this and scale it Y like that. So divide surfaces. And then we can go ahead and add some edge loops like that. Add one for the bottom. Scale it in the Y dimension so it's thinner. Take these, push them over, push them over. And then we're going to add an edge loop across the middle to make the kind of pointy part in the middle. We're gonna do one of these. Now that kind of looks like kelp. Gonna add some more edge loops, could be more. We'll leave it actually like that. I'm gonna take this middle edge loop and we will bevel it slightly. And then what we'll do is we'll do E to exclude, escape, and Alt S. Pull it in. Then Alt S. Like that. So this is our very rough kelp. So if you want, you could always add more edge loops. Give it more bend. Increase the subdivisions to make it smoother. And then if you go into sculpt mode, you can go into sculpt mode after you apply your subdivisions. Or scale. And then you can go into sculpt mode and you can mess with it even more. You know, really swirl it around with the snake hook tool or the glab tool. You can make more subtle moves, subtle changes, smaller changes. You can of course also shift it over, so bend it. Bend it around. Whatever you feel like doing. You're gonna take these two. And I'm going to just take this one. I'm going to lay that across the. I'm going to lay that one across the seat. I'm just going to take this coral. Just kind of bend it around this post here. Do like that. I take this and I'm going to mirror it across the table, the X and the Y. Of course, give this a clean color. looks like coral. Same thing here. Now that I have that, this color, I can just kind of drape it across the seat. Something like that. And just keep using the snake hook tool to move it around. You could also add a texture to this as well. If you want. But it really depends on how much you want, how much detail you want to have in this, and how big you make it. So these are kind of small, so it's going to be hard to get like adequate detail on this. I'm just going to go ahead and spin this. Like that. Then we're going to mirror this. Plus table. X and Y. And same with this. Algae. There we go. Do that there. So then we're just gonna add some coral. So I'm gonna try a different way of doing this today. I'm just gonna save this. Then I'm gonna add some UV spheres, or a UV sphere. I'm gonna cut it in half. So I went in edit mode and deleted all the bottom vertices. Gonna give it some subdivisions. Then I'm going to go into edit mode here. Let's go into scope mode. Make sure X and Y symmetry are enabled. Then I'm going to just go with my sculpting, my blush, my draw brush. Gonna go make sure the texture is off. Okay, make sure texture is off. Make sure it's plain anchored in the negative dimension. So it should be okay. Perfect. So I'm going to increase the length quite a bit here. And I'm going to make these small little divots in them. That. They turn on X and Y symmetry. Something like this. Maybe this is a better look of coral. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to add some vertices up top to clean up that little piece in the middle there. Smooth it slightly. And then go ahead and add the vertices up top. Switch it a little bit more. And then that kind of looks like a piece of coral. So we can maybe make it bluish. That color. And then we're just gonna copy this. Bigger. Copy it. And then we'll just take some of this kelp, put it along the table. This. Excuse me. Sorry. And then we're just gonna rotate it. That. I'll probably go in and after this clean up some of these. Maybe make these make a little bit more sense. Take these and I guess these as well. These, move them over. Some. Right. Yep. So this is how you have your very, very basic aquatic stone table. You can of course go in further and add some clams, add some coral, refine your kelp, refine your coral, add some texture to the sand. But for now, I'm okay with this. Probably go in and mess with the coral and clams a little bit. But for now, let me just move these down here. Alright, and there is your aquatic stone table. Thank you everybody for watching who watched this. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you know Blender or are planning to get into making your own miniatures, I hope you learned something. But I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for watching.